fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests. It took a lot of coaxing to get me to join Toastmasters. Now, some of this came from my loving husband, who always knows what's best for me, right? And some of that came from my own inner dialogue, battling it out inside my head. Now, it went something like this. Come on, Mary, you can join Toastmasters. It's good for you. No, I don't think so. Mary, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Please don't make me. Mary, do it. Fine. So I happily filled out my paperwork and I paid my dues. And then afterwards I thought these 4 words. What was I thinking? No offense, Toastmasters are a great bunch of people. And it really did have some appeal to me. A little bit like a root canal when you need to get rid of a bad tooth. And I know I'm not the only one that feels this way. I would like to get a show of hands tonight from anybody who has a fear of public speaking. Please raise your hands. Don't be shy. Well, for anybody who didn't raise their hand, Mark Twain once said this. He said there are 2 kinds of speakers, those that are nervous and those that are liars. There's also been studies done on this subject, and the #1 fear that people have is public speaking. #2, death. So I have a little bit of extra history behind my fear of public speaking. I'd like to share that with you tonight. It all began for me with my very first speech in my very first year of middle school. Middle school is an awkward time of life, wouldn't you agree? You're having to start a new school, you're trying to make friends, you're trying to impress the girls or the boys, and then there's puberty. Puberty. You're getting zits, you're getting BO, and for girls, you're getting breasts. And maybe you didn't notice or you didn't care, but somebody else did, and now you're wearing a bra. On top of all that, they give you your first public speech to do. My history teacher had the pleasure of giving us our first speech. But he was really nice about it. He said we could pick any topic in all of the history of the world. So that was a huge relief to me. I picked my topic, the different forms of capital punishment. I must have had a death wish. Well, I researched it, and I practiced, and I practiced, and practiced. The day of my speech came, and I was ready. I remember that day well. The room was hot, and the lights were turned down, and the glare from that overhead projector was blinding me. Remember the overhead? And then there was the guys in the back of the room that were snickering at me, which didn't help. It was just about the time that I got to death by hanging that it happened. My knees locked, my vision went blurry, and I passed out cold. And I even hit my head on the table when I went down. And believe it or not, my teacher and my classmates thought that was part of my speech. It was not till moments later that they came to my rescue, and I woke up to a swarm of people around me asking me if I was okay. Now, to make things even better, they called the nurse down, and she brought a wheelchair. She was really nice, and she helped me up into that wheelchair, and she wheeled me down to the nurse's office, right in the middle of passing time. My next memorable speech was in my first year of college, and this was a demonstration speech we had to do. Now, by this time, I had grown, and I had matured, so I decided to demonstrate how to make a mixed drink. I knew this would be popular, and I knew it would be easy. 5 ingredients, piece of cake, right? One of the sure signs that you're nervous when you do a speech is that your bodily functions start to malfunction. You might be sweating profusely, you might have a rapid heartbeat, you might have a dry mouth and you can't even talk. And then there's the shaky hands. That was my demise that day. Every ingredient in my drink shook and spilled. From the container it came from, to the shot glass, to the drink. It was a total disaster. And you know what? I blew my cover. They knew I was nervous. After class that day, I had that drink. So why would I subject myself to more torture and join Toastmasters? Here's the thing. I believe you have to face your fears in order to grow. Every week when I go to Toastmasters, I get the opportunity to grow. Table Topics is a perfect example of that. I've learned so much from Table Topics. I've learned never look the Table Topics master in the eye. They will call on you. I've learned to make efficient use of my time and go to the bathroom if I have to at that time. And I've also learned to look busy. My doodling has improved tenfold. But in all seriousness, I do believe we have to face our fears in order to grow. And I've faced other such fears in my life, like starting a business and leaving the security of a job. Like moving from Minnesota to Washington 10 years ago and leaving everybody and everything I knew behind. And when I got here, I did things like hike in the mountains when I have a fear of heights. It's these challenges that make us stronger, that build character, and that make life more exciting. So will I ever get over my fear of public speaking? Maybe not completely, but I'm going to keep trying because I'm a sucker for punishment. And maybe next on my list, hang gliding. And Toastmasters.